You're listening to KCXU LP 92.7 FM on your dial in San Jose, California.
Welcome to our Student Voice in San Jose program on KCXU 92.7 FM radio. My name is Bill Conrad, and I'll be your host for today's show, that what we're calling Stories of Sexual Harassment in Our Schools. Today we'll be interviewing Lydia Youngkind, who will tell her story of the alleged sexual harassment that she experienced within Santa Clara Unified School District, and as a volunteer supporter for the political campaign of Dominic Caserta for Santa Clara Supervisor. Lydia's story is one of the 15 credible student allegations of sexual harassment made by students. No child should have to deal with sexual harassment and assault in our schools. Yet, the adults do not want to act in the right way, nor do they want to listen to the children's voices. The district attorney for Santa Clara County ruled that these allegations did not constitute sufficient evidence to prosecute Mr. Caserta. SCUSD placed Mr. Caserta on paid administrative leave, where he has remained for a year at $12,000 per month. Students want their stories to be told and not to be swept under the rug by self-serving administrative staff. We at KCXU 92.7 FM are committed to providing a voice for our students so that their stories can be told. We hope that these stories will catalyze the actions necessary to ensure that sexual harassment and assault end within our schools. We advocate for a full and independent investigation of sexual harassment and assault within our schools, as governance and school district administrative staff have failed to conduct adequate investigations, let alone solve this problem. Welcome, Lydia. We appreciate your return to our program and look forward to hearing your story about the alleged sexual harassment that you experienced. Please tell us your story.
Thank you so much, Bill. My name is Lydia and I'm an international student from Germany, and Mr. Caserta's classroom was actually the first American classroom I ever walked into. During my time as a student, I already noticed some sexist comments. For example, he said that women need to marry rich in the Bay Area and that they use their bodies to trap men. So during that time, I was still in an adjustment period and I didn't realize the bearings of such statements. In order to complete his class, we have to take civic engagement hours, and he urged us to take those at his campaign for Santa Clara Supervisor, and me and several other students did so. After the quarter ended, he asked me to stay on his campaign because he was really impressed with my work. Caserta presented himself as my mentor, so I took the opportunity because I thought he was my teacher after all, and I trusted him. So I worked on his campaign from January to May 2018, and during that time, his behavior got worse and worse. He made objectifying comments about me to his staff, like I wasn't even in the room, and he also started to touch me and to kiss me on the cheeks. I was also increasingly intimidated by him because he had a very loose temper. So during my time on his campaign, I was very depressed and I suffered from a really low self-confidence. I think Mr. Caserta saw me as an easy target because I was only in this country for a couple months. I was 19 and I was really scared of him. Eventually, I was able to turn my fear into anger, I think, because, I know that I wouldn't have been responsible for what he may have done to other women in the future if I wouldn't have spoken up against him. But a week before I decided to go public, I found out that he had previously sexually harassed a student. And I found the courage to take the step of going public because I realized that he had no right to do this. Mr. Caserta cast a shadow over my experience of being a student in another country, and I didn't want him to be able to do this or anything like that ever again. So I know that there are a lot of women out there who experience similar things, and I want to tell them that standing up for yourself and others is worth it. In the aftermath of going public, I spent hours talking to the police and to the investigator that my school, which is Foothill College, hired. I think it is so important that these investigations are independent. I talked to the investigator right after I went public in May, and Mr. Caserta was only interviewed 9 months later. So still no decision has been made. He's still on paid administrative leave. So not only do we have to listen to victims, but we also need to provide them with fast and thorough investigations in these cases, because the defendant should not be able to dictate the conditions of the trial. To all the women out there that face sexual harassment, I would like to say that this is not okay. It's not your fault, and you're not alone in this, and this means that you will be heard. Thank you so much, Bill, for giving me the opportunity to speak on your show today. I really appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Lydia, for having the courage to share your story of alleged sexual harassment with us. Listeners who would like to comment on your brave story can visit us at KCXU 92.7 at our website, http://kcxu.org or http://sipbigpicture.com. We look forward to sharing your fellow students' stories of alleged sexual harassment in our schools. It is important that these stories are told and that we remain open and transparent to sharing them so that we can address and ultimately solve them. Thank you so much for listening. This is Bill Conrad signing off at KCXU 92.7 FM.
You're listening to KCXU LP 92.7 FM on your dial in San Jose, California.